There's been a lot of confusion trying to get this meeting set up.
That's the way it works. First meetings are always chaos. Okay.
Janice, will you come over? Okay. So one person that we have,
And Rob is unable to do anything for the first 15 minutes, well, now 10 minutes, due to conflict with work. So he's like, I'll be on Zoom, but I won't really be because I'll be double working.
sure.
So if we delay just a few minutes, it's fine, because we're gonna need him to probably have a quorum to vote for who our chair is.
So we're missing Rob, we're missing, John,
Stippen.
not Rob, sorry, John Stippen and Lou. Lou said she couldn't make it today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess too early, so we'll have to look at schedules for future meetings.
Would you like to hold on for a second, being it's just the people in this room and Rob's gonna come and maybe Jen, she's gonna show up here? Wanna wait a few minutes?
Yeah, that works.
We'll wait. Sorry.
You can maybe post it in a meeting.
Sounds good.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first meeting of the Bridge of the Gods Centennial Celebration Subcommittee meeting. We have some work to get through today to get this committee stood up. First thing on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is roll call.
Here.
Rob Peterson is going to be late. Janice Crane here. Brittany Berge here.
Yes.
I'm Jennifer Scholl.
And we have
Well, John Stippen is excused and Louise Normo is excused.
I have no modifications to the agenda, but changes to the agenda. Discussion, introduction of Bridge of the Gods Centennial Celebration Committee members. I think we all know each other, but I think if anybody's watching this, they might want to know us. So let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. We will start with Carrie Ann, who never gets to talk.
Court secretary.
Shut the court.
Yeah.
That whole board together.
Line behind it all. Okay.
Carrie Clute, court commissioner, vice president, I don't know what else to say.
I'm Janice Crane. I am the executive director of the Friends of the Cascade Locks Historical Museum and the city's contractor for tourism.
I'm Brittany Berge. I'm a citizen member, I guess.
So,
I'm Genevieve Scholl. I'm the deputy executive director of the board of Cascade Locks. I'm not a committee member, but I'm here for the first meeting.
I am, I believe the executive director of the Port Cascade Locks. We're missing John Stippen, former commissioner, general visionary, who brings the guitar to most of these meetings. And Luke Blair, he is thank you, the secretary of the museum board. Maybe he will take minutes for these meetings. We should just volunteer, someone should make a motion to make it happen.
I'll take minutes, I don't care.
So, I actually do have a modification to the agenda, which is we need to elect a chair and a vice chair. We also need to somewhat establish how these meetings are gonna go. Are we going to be loose with these? Are we gonna have motions, or how formal are we gonna be? I think it's always a good idea to have motions and seconds if it goes that direction, but I don't know that it's something this committee is going to need. But again, that's gonna go to the chair and the vice.
I mean, like general consensus unless it's like there's some dissent and then maybe take a motion for like, I don't know. That's my opinion.
You can set up a baseline for spending and staff time.
Remotes.
Thank you.
You know.
Waiting room admin.
We can watch Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh, it had us for a second.
It's probably not a huge deal now that it's on there.
Oh, there we are.
I will second that. Hey, it's Rob here.
Rob,
Rob's here. There you go.
quick introduction of yourself. We went around the room, but if anybody's tuning in, once we post this meeting.
I missed your last comment, Jeremiah. Sorry.
Do a quick introduction of yourself. We went around the room, did introductions. There's nobody watching the meeting, but maybe after the fact, someone will.
Yeah, Rob Peterson, 6 years in Cascade Locks, several years on subcommittees for the port. Active volunteer, started the Gorge Community Club, a few others in town, spent a lot of time on the water and just appreciate the beauty in the gorge and the historical bridge of the guides and the history behind it. Yeah, and I'm very excited about this 100-year anniversary of our team that we have. So thank you.
Got cut off mid-sentence there with the remotes. Janice was saying something when the remotes came.
Oh, we were discussing the procedures for the meetings and I had just said if we wanted to set like a financial limit or a staff hours limit for before we need a motion, that might help clarify procedure.
Sure.
Cool. On to get to that. So do we wanna first amend, you amended the agenda?
I amended the agenda to include the, us setting our chair and our vice chair, so.
Yep. So do we wanna do that first?
Sounds good. This is officially me handing the meeting over to the subcommittee.
All right, so we need to elect a chair and a vice chair. I'd like to throw my name in the hat for chair.
Can you nominate yourself?
Can I nominate myself?
I nominate Carrie Clue for chair.
All right,
I'll second that nomination and I'd like to nominate myself for vice chair.
I'll second that nomination. Am I allowed to do that? All right, all those in favor of me being chair and Rob being vice chair, say aye.
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 Fantastic. So we'll talk a little bit about staff involvement, because Janice brought that up, and I think it's important that we understand, the role of the subcommittee. So you guys really do the work for the commission, and you guys report to the commission, which is what I do, right? So I'm gonna be able to give some staff time to this, if directed by the commission to do so, outside of what I'm gonna volunteer, which is going to be Carrie Ann will be able to, post your agendas. She'll be able to type up your agendas. She'll be able to take minutes at the meetings based on scheduling, depends when you guys schedule this.
Mhm.
Fridays are gonna be an issue for us going forward because we're gonna move to 410s. I will be available on Fridays, but Carrie Ann will not. I can volunteer myself to post agendas and to be at the meetings and not volunteer. I will be paid to be there. But Carrie Ann will not. So if it's Friday going forward, we won't have Carrie Ann.
I had some thoughts about maybe moving these to evenings on a weekday, like after work on a Thursday or a Wednesday or something, to deconflict, and then maybe at the start of this subcommittee, because we're just in the brainstorming phase, maybe only meet once every 2 months at first through the end of the year, and then pick it up to monthly potentially. I think that would probably set a good pace where we can assign out tasks and stuff and do our research and come back and collaborate every couple months. But since we just needed to set a date for, like our target date for the event and kind of work toward that and change our frequency the closer we get to it.
Yeah.
Just
Just to share some feedback about my availability, Fridays, I think we should all avoid having meetings on Friday if we can. Wednesdays are pretty wide open. We have a culture thing at work where we don't do any meetings on Wednesdays, so I have a lot of free ability on that day. Also, a lot of my meetings are between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. So today was the absolute worst time to schedule a meeting. I had to juggle a few things, but in the future, let's try to work with the commissioner's schedules as well. So.
Means that we're 2 years out, this doesn't have to be that we have a standing meeting, right? We can say, hey, when everybody's schedule allow for the next meeting. So I think generally us knowing when we're available is good. But we can probably hash this out at every meeting when we're gonna meet next for a while.
That's fine. I was just throwing it out there as like maybe weekend or weekday evenings, so we can not cut into people's weekends and.
My weekends are Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so.
Oh, there you go.
Thursdays might work best for you, Thursday afternoons, maybe,
I can meet Thursdays during the day.
yeah, during the day, most of us. Have to work days, we don't wanna cut it to your weekend either, but if we're all meeting like on our off time on a Thursday after work. Too, possibly,
That work for me. Any evenings would be fine for me.
okay,
And we also, and you guys can also fully Zoom this, right? We don't have to, and I think that's probably something we should maybe also throw out there, like, are we fine meeting on Zoom? This room requires some coordination.
yeah,
So all of those pieces, make it more difficult to meet in person. Not that I don't love to meet in person, I actually prefer coordination on this table.
we can always meet at the fort, grass lawn too, if we need to.
As long as I can set Zoom up for you.
Because it has to be,
It has to be public.
well,
I have a question about the meeting format. Are we required to actually use the City Hall to host the Zoom meeting? I don't know why we can't just all use our own laptops and just do a group Zoom.
Yeah, no, we absolutely can just do a Zoom. And we, yeah, it doesn't have to be in person, it doesn't have to be an in-person option, there does have to be an option on Zoom for the public to attend.
It's a public, yeah, it's a public meeting, so it's just gotta be properly noticed, and the public needs to be able to attend if they want to. And it has to have proper minutes posted correctly.
I'm fully aware of how busy every committee member is in this room, I'm just ridiculously surprised you said yes, I'm ridiculously surprised you said yes, it's awesome. But I think Zoom is probably our way.
I'm good with that.
So the next thing we have on the agenda, and I'm gonna lead just a little bit, because I'm looking at it. Are you looking at it, Gary?
Mhm.
Oh, then go ahead.
All right, we have some discussions listed on the agenda. The first is the introduction of we already did that, Bridge of the God Centennial subcommittee members. So the discussion of the overall vision and goals is the next item on the agenda. I think that's fairly straightforward, right?
I don't know, I mean, I've heard so many different conversations about what you guys envision this as, from a single day with flames flying to an all year long celebration, so I think it is. I think we need to, I would love to walk away from this meeting understanding if this is a full-on marketing campaign that lasts an entire year, or if this is a single day, and if it's a single day, to select that day. Which maybe sounds like a big bite, but 2 years out, I have weddings, I have other events that are starting to schedule, like, if we walked away knowing that, that would certainly be helpful for me.
Well, the original Bridge of the Gods opened towards the end of, I don't know exactly what day. It was.
First, Halloween.
It was on Halloween, okay. In 1926, considering the time of year, October 31st with weather and stuff, doesn't seem like the most ideal time to have a celebration, so I was thinking September 2026, like mid-September to have something in the shoulder season for people.
I love the idea of the shoulder season.
Yeah.
Also a time of Oktoberfest, so it could be potential down the line that we do have some sort of beer event towards the end of the summer in the park as well, so be interesting to see if there could be some sort of collaboration with that.
Oktoberfest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to pretty much any day during that time of year,
One of the risks you'll run with doing it in September would be potential smoke from wildfires, impacting attendance, but.
Saturday the 5th is the old timers banquet.
well, also one of the,
that
I
might
think.
be the cross channel swim too.
Until we talk to some of our possible collaboration partners, I don't know that we can set a date, because one of the ideas that was brought up in some pre-collaboration was partnering with WAM to do their fly-in here. So if they have a specific day that they normally do the fly-in and it's already scheduled, maybe we, just shift the location of that and partner and collaborate with them for that.
And I think that's great, especially if we're talking September, there's less weddings there. But until we secure a date, it's full speed ahead on events coordinator being able to book weddings.
Right,
That's
right.
one of the things that does get booked 2 years. So there's some pressure for us to get it, but I understand the need to consult with some of our collaborators to get it. But it should be high on our priority list to find that date, secure it, and move everything towards that.
Let's see, I'm seeing if they have the fly-in already, on their calendar.
It's actually the second weekend in September.
Yeah.
And that is their biggest annual fundraiser, and I don't know that they'll be.
That's, yeah. I already know it's shaking.
Didn't they used to do fly-ins and Cascade locks?
They did.
The theme of the fly-in though is the Hood River Airport's got a grass runway. And a lot of those planes that fly in for the fly in for the grass runway, and I don't think our airport could accommodate them.
Gotcha.
But a lot of them arrive early and stay late. So, you know, if we had our event right before the fly-in, we could probably get the planes, we could probably get the cars,
Right.
But you also have to think about cross-channel swim on Labor Day. So, that last week of August, first 2 weeks of September is in a lot of ways a great time because there's so many complementary things going on, but also a scary time because there's so many complementary things going on. So
Right.
it's great that you're meeting so early and reaching out to those guys so early that,
Yeah, we want to
To
get
your
as much
planning,
collaboration as possible.
yeah.
I think, so I'd be hesitant to like set a date, maybe we set a tentative date for, and I like the idea of like year-long marketing and stuff as well, but I think it should lead up to just like one big event.
Yeah.
And, we can talk about that on the next, so as a vision though, I think, a 1 day
Okay.
kind of big blowout event with some stuff leading up to it might be the.
And
Are we looking at doing a Saturday or a Sunday for this event?
Oh, yeah, definitely a weekend
keep in mind, I know that.
or a full weekend event.
I don't know if you guys are going to want to, but if there is any ideas about closing the bridge for any sort of reason. Whether it's to walk down to it, to have a run that happens that day, any of the reasons that you guys come up with to close the bridge. Saturday and Sunday make that much more difficult.
Right,
Yeah, I'm not a fan of closing the bridge at all. There's always pushback from our local residents about the traffic it causes and just, Wana Pub becomes a nightmare. So I think we should keep things normal operation, but have spectating areas, for whatever
well,
we choose to do.
Is there any interest in? And this would need to go to the commission, but from this group, is there any interest in politicizing this event at all? I mean, we have a bridge that's 100 years old, as it needs probably $90 million worth of work. We're getting $6 million for 2 different states. We have PCT hikers that have to cross that thing. It's ridiculously dangerous.
I think
This
that's an educational piece.
This only focus on celebration and community and what a wonderful thing this is. Or is there any desire for us to start to point out some of the political issues that surround that bridge?
I think that's a great thing, that's a good opportunity for it, we'll see where we are in 2 years, but also.
I mean, I'm
Any
open
event
to-
like the PCT days, we have a bridge, for 10 that educates people about the bridge and what we're trying to do with walkway and stuff, so why wouldn't we have it? It's the bridge, we need to talk about it.
I think having a Centennial will give you leverage in a way that maybe isn't always available to you, but also that's going to coincide with the semi-quincentennial of the United States, which is our $5 word for 250 years. So there's going to be a lot of historic preservation funding available that year that will be coming.
I'm okay with interrupting bridge operations temporarily. If
Like for a
does have-
parade or,
if it does have some legislators involved in representing some issues about funding for the bridge, maybe a pedestrian spanway or some collaboration with PCTA, or some bi-state issue that comes up down the line there as we get closer. I mean, we kind of have to wait until can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, you have to kind of wait until after this election cycle to see what kind of issues are gonna be coming up in 2 years and where we're at with lobbying for stuff, but, if we get to that point where we can really highlight an issue and it helps the cause for raising awareness for funding of a pedestrian bridge, I think, we can interrupt some of the operations of the bridge temporarily that day.
We can interrupt them for sure, it's best if that occurs between like 6 and 7 in the morning, 7:30 at the latest, midday is just, it's not possible. We will disrupt.
What do we, I mean, don't we do that for the runs, like
We have one run that we do, and we do it in the morning, and it's on a Sunday,
gotcha.
and we have to, and we announce it. There's a lot of coordination that goes into that, Chad Sperry
Right.
is amazing at that. There's another run that is no longer doing that, and they struggle with it, and it's done well, it's done well.
I think it would be better for
It's-
tourism if we have the event on a Saturday, because it encourages them, if it's a nice weekend weather, they'll stay another day, and that's just more tourism dollars into town rather than just saying Sunday. Most running races are on a Sunday anyways, so I think Saturday would be a little bit more appropriate.
Well, and we can worry about what we wanna do with the details later, we're still 2 years out, or
So
if
this,
we close the bridge or whatever the only thing I'm envisioning is maybe having a bunch of Model Ts drive across the bridge as a.
And that's easy.
Yeah, to like close it just long enough for them to like
Right.
go through and get some photo ops and stuff like that. But otherwise, keep it normal operations.
Janice, are you involved in the trail, the historic Columbia River Highway Trail Committee?
I am not.
Another
I know
big,
they have
big,
organized a lot of TV drives on the trail.
there's a big antique car following in Dallas. They have meetups every month out there, so it might be worth kind of researching what kind of communities we have out there and what their ties are to the history here.
Those car events, if you advertise it far enough in advance, they will come to exert.
Yeah.
we waiting polls for all vehicles 1926 or older.
Were they good for 1926 prices?
Yeah, there you go, oh, that would
There
be
you go,
fun.
there you go.
There's
Polls
also
at
the,
1926 prices for a day.
I don't know if this is even something that we can even suggest to the governor of Oregon, but since it is a 100-year-old bridge, if they ever had the idea of having a Bridge of the Gods license plate, kind of like they do for other causes in the state.
Interesting, that would be cool. So one of the two things that I would like to see this group consider is one, how to get volunteers. And I think that's important that we start finding ways to grow this group. It's certainly gonna take more than five people, and it's certainly going to take. Gonna take more than 5 people, and I don't have a tremendous amount of staff that I can grow with this. Good news is that you guys have $10,000. So I think
In
one.
this coming fiscal year.
And yeah, it's starting in July. I think that one of the most successful events that we have are not the ones that the board does.
Right.
They're the ones that have a promoter, and there are a number of promoters that do really well in this part. Chad Sperry is one of them, Jason Kunis is another. Both of them would be interesting people to have on this committee, but would also be interesting people for you to spend your $10,000 with. And have somebody that's working on this full time as a job.
So
Go ahead.
I think we should talk about what we envision as a party, like what would go into it too, and see who would fit the description of like helping plan something like that. Like, my vision is just like a big party down at the park, like we had before with lots of tents and vendors. People like an arts fest style thing, a stage with a band playing. Then like the air and auto show going on for maybe just a few hours during that time as well. So, and then when it gets dark out, either fireworks over the bridge or like have a light up bridge, like bridge lighting event or something, if we can, I know you were looking at quotes for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think that is probably a big part of what this what do you guys do? You bring it in on exactly what the vision is, and we start planning on what costs are for the next budget cycle, and then see how I work those in, see if the committee, the commission approves them. But yeah, I think that that's a big part of what we're doing this year, is figuring out what the vision looks like and how much it's gonna cost.
Right,
But fireworks are not out of the question.
So at the original dedication ceremony, it was in 1924 that they did the dedication, that 3,000 people showed up for it, they had, wow, right?
Holy cow.
They had the governor of Oregon speak, and then the governor of Washington sent somebody from their staff. And then there were also some Yakima leaders who were invited because they were dedicating the Washington side, and they did a ceremony and they had some dancing. And they shot like a ceremonial arrow to decide where the Washington troops would go.
Very cool.
Oh, that's pretty.
So I did reach out to the museum in Yakima to talk a little bit about what that could look like with their involvement. And they suggested we talk to tribal council to see if and how they would like to partner with that and be a part of that.
that would be awesome.
Any,
I agree with what Janice said. I think we should have some sort of reenactment about the original story of the Bridge of the Gods, how that came to be, how it used to be a land bridge, and to have some native voices there tell that story in some way.
I think that's cool. I think that's very cool. It would be really interesting to have the tribes actually talk about that legend.
Yeah.
Not even a legend.
100%.
Well, or well documented as being fact. But it would be interesting to have that. That is something that is gonna require commission involvement, right? We need to make sure that any of the stakeholders that we work with is people that the commission want to work with. I don't think it'll be an issue, but that's one I will take to the commission.
Mhm.
That's
'Cause
also
That's
another,
that's gonna require me engaging the tribes, going to their council, working that out, right? So, but yeah, I think that's great.
another point to that is the fact that we have an outdated mural that tells that story visually already. And the artist who painted that has passed away years ago. But
Passed away, and his family has said that they have no attachment to that mural, which I think is also worth noting, because every time we talk about it, there's always this like preservation piece of it, and the people who you think would be most interested in preserving it are like, it's fine.
it's
So,
an opportunity of space to use for commemoration for the event in 2 years. So it's something to think about, what could replace it or what restoration could happen there.
Yeah. And how much it would cost to hire somebody to paint a mural there.
Would you be interested in incorporating the geology piece of the Bridge of the Gods into it too?
I think having like a tent with some education on that might be cool.
As far as vendors getting like mineral and gem vendors to show up to dig
Oh,
up.
that would be cool.
Yeah,
we used to
Yeah,
have.
that's cool. And then also Pacific Crest Trail as well, some information for the hikers passing through.
I mean, you could have the pavilion full all day long with different speakers talking about that bridge from different lenses, for sure, from geologists to tribes to my bridge engineer. I mean, just go down the list. There's a million people that have a good 30 to 40 minute presentation on different aspects of that bridge.
right.
I would sit in the pavilion all day. That's how I would spend my day. But yeah, there's
In this whole ceremonial thing, the overall picture, do you want to convey that we're kind of like the heart of the gorge in the message? And this is a celebration of the National Scenic Area that was introduced in 1986, and just preserving the beauty of the gorge instead of industry. I don't know if we want that in the message at all.
I think,
Let me get just a suggestion on the committee's work. In the first few months, one thing that you're already kind of doing organically, I think, is maybe establish a set of criteria and an invitation to other groups to produce sanctioned Bridge of the Gods Centennial events
mhm,
on their own, like the two museums. WHAM could have a car show as a sanctioned event where you're not doing the work for that. WHAM comes in, they have their territory, the breweries, all the car clubs, the PCT. Maybe what we're working on in the first few months is an
figuring out who
invitation
those
to a
are.
select list of partner groups to start planning their own and submitting plans to you for approval for being a sanctioned event. For all of those other satellite things that you wanna do, and when you talk about, you know, a year-long event, it's scary to Jeremiah to think about, it would collapse if it was staff supported by the
Right.
board.
I mean, we could do just a
But
weekend event. I
You've
think.
got two beautiful museums, you know, one of them's on your, two of them are on your committee, you know, if those museums want to do, you know, a year of educational programming as a
Mhm.
sanctioned event that doesn't require your staffing or, you know, your funding beyond support for their grant funding seeking, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think the port committee has to do it all. And I think if you are selective about the partners you wanna work with and you're able to communicate them well enough, some controls, you know, on their event. Then the work is really in organizing a calendar and public information of the Bridge of the Gods Centennial sanctioned events, you know.
Right.
And maybe that's the Model T car show and the air show, but we're focusing on, you know, the size of event that we can do is what you described, which is vendors in the park and the pavilion. I mean, we can do that, we do that all the time, but you know, that's about our capacity,
Right.
right? So that just a suggestion to, you know, maybe let's go meet with Wham and say, you know, you tell us what works late summer, early fall.
Right.
For maybe a car show on Thunder Island, you know, that is, and have them do the organizing, because they do it, you know, we don't
Right.
have to do it for them, but we
And
can
they can
invite.
raise funds for themselves doing, in doing so too.
And that kind of spreads it, you know, like I'm sure, you know, Thunder Island's got a Bridge of the Gods lager, maybe they'll have a tasting event or something, but we don't need to be involved in that other than approving it as a sanctioned event, so it goes on the official
Mhm.
schedule of events, you know.
Here's the space, here's the
Yeah.
market.
And by that time too, you'll have the maturity of Main Street Cascade Locks as well by that time, so they might be able to take on some of the handoff projects of organizing these other sanctioned events, you know.
Yeah, I did receive an email from Denise Baker saying that she would volunteer and also the Main Street would do everything they can to support, so.
I could see a teacher wanting to do a learning bit for the school. Well, that, again, it'll collapse if it's support staff doing that. But, you know, if that's a sanctioned event and they have their own committee planning, what are we gonna do for the Bridge of the Gods? And you have a process for submitting plans for approval for being a sanctioned event.
Right.
Then you'll spread it all over, you know,
It does feel like a very good approach.
I
Especially with the connections that everybody has here, and it will be having to turn people down if we do that. It'll be like, I got this person, this person, this person, they wanna have an event. So I think everybody reached out to their connections and said, hey, this is what we're doing, and what would you like to do? What if the park is expensive to rent out, right? The
Right.
pavilion is expensive, like.
But we're
obviously,
bringing it
now we're
for free.
offering these things, and we're also gonna promote it for an entire year, and it's around, and it's the Centennial of the Bridge, like, there's gonna be a lot of people that wanna get in on that.
Mhm.
And I
Who
think
was the
on that-
artist who made the flyers of, like the fly under the Spirit of St.
Paul Lundquist.
Is he still around?
Yeah.
Maybe we can commission him to make the flyer for the actual party.
Yeah.
So not with the Spirit of St. Louis on it or anything, just the Bridge of the Gods and like, I don't know, something,
Yeah.
let him have some creative vision, but then
Another-
like the dates and the stuff, and that could be
Because
our
you
like,
will wanna put together a media kit, and if that is like the brand
yeah.
style that you wanna go for, you know,
I
if
think
you
it
wanna
would-
build a whole media kit around that sort of style, it's great to think of that now. And, you know.
Another
maybe commission-
sanctioned, another off-sanctioned event, maybe a pub talk by the museum, that talks about the bridge, the history of the bridge engineering and the struggles they have. Maybe pull in someone from the Interstate Bridge Replacement Project or one of our bridge engineers to talk more about it and, you know, maybe the politics of getting a new bridge and what it takes and discuss that.
David Curry would be fun in the pub talk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that'd be great, so, yeah.
feel like a period costume event would be a good fundraiser for the museum. But, you know, the port doesn't need a fundraiser, you know, or something like that, but,
I still wanna do bungee jumping off the bridge.
you know. Yeah. Even better,
Um,
in costume, in period costume.
So as far as vision goes, like, I know I stated my piece, do you guys feel along the same lines? Are you thinking kind of along the same lines of a party, either a day or a weekend?
Yeah, my, thought on this was it was kind of a melding of the two where there were other sanctioned events that were happening throughout the year, but then there was a culmination with the big festival, so I'm glad we're all kind of in alignment for.
Yeah, I wanna make sure.
There's
I
also,
see nodding your head, okay. And I know, I want to represent Mr. Stippen and his vision because he really, really wants to do a fly under. With all of the stuff that I've, researched, it seems like it might be an impossible feat or one of those things that you do and ask for forgiveness later.
You get like FAA clearance or
You need
Yeah,
VHS
it used to be- it
clearance.
used to be something they did fairly regularly, was to fly under bridges. As part of air shows and just celebrations and blah, 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 and 9/11 had a large effect on flying planes under infrastructure.
Well, and then this recent bridge collapse, like,
Yeah.
I think we get really hard pressed to get actual approval from the Department of Homeland Security.
I will tell
A
you
little
that
mini fly-in would
the
be.
port is probably in the best position of most entities to pull that off, right? That's
Right.
something in-house that that's one of the things that we could probably do. If we could get the clearance, not that we get clearance, but we could go through the right steps to do it. If we fly a plane in the Bridge for Gods, that will get 2 million views on YouTube.
Right,
100%. Like if you do something that big, spectacular, historical,
Well-
you will get that sort of recognition. And
that's where I think we could also get some fundraising from sponsors, if we could get Red Bull to be a sponsor of the event and have a tent and like do their plane to help give us some funding to make it an even cooler event.
I think another discussion point too is to start thinking about the viewing points for these events. One being the big parking lot, obviously by the bridge at Bridgeside, the Best Western folks, get them involved in the conversation early. Because there's gonna be a lot of spectators if we do have something going on with the bridge and a fly-in. Also Overlook Park, there's been discussion with the city about renaming that park. So that's kind of up for discussion. There's also the Washington side, where the port owns a little bit of land. So like, what would we want in those places during certain events, like having vendors there as well? Accommodating parking for the town.
People are gonna be definitely walking across the bridge like all day long on that event, so yeah, to have like some kind of maybe food trucks or something, refreshments on the other side too for people wouldn't be a terrible idea. And maybe even like a shuttle that takes them to Stevenson if they're walking and they can go, if, you know.
we have so many transit now making 8 trips a day, so.
I mean, that would be on them to arrange that if they wanna bring people into their town and stuff, and be collaborative, but I've reached out to both the mayor and the port, director over there, and we've got no responses about any interest in joining, so. Huh?
The chamber.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. Yeah.
And Steve takes a lot of ownership in that bridge.
They should.
Yeah, they should.
Buy State Bridge.
Corporate.
There's definitely interest from the museum across the river about the bridge, with their new executive director, Lou Palermo, so.
Yeah, I think the more involvement we get, the better, that's what I'm thinking.
Are we willing to, when we push into details, are we willing to hone in that it's a weekend, that it's a 2-day event?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah, that's good.
feel good about that, Rob? This is a 2-day event?
In agreement with that, I prefer the highlight event being on a Saturday.
Or like a day and a half, maybe like a Friday afternoon through Saturday night, culminating in like fireworks at the end or something, I don't know.
The concern I have with Friday though is a lot of people still work till like 5. You're not gonna get a lot of attendance like you would on a Saturday. And if you just isolate the event to one day, it's less of a traffic impact than a all weekend thing.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking, look, for people to camp and stuff, maybe we open the island like we do for PCT days for camping potentially, or we have camping at our other property down.
And those are the things that I'm like, man, whoever, whether it's Jason McCunis or the Chad Sperry, or some of those folks that have done that sort of stuff before.
To like help them organize
Yeah,
it.
well, they know it. They're like, I
Right.
need security, I need this rope to go up, I need to put these signs up, so this doesn't happen. I
Right,
need to call this guy, like, they've done it, they have it.
right,
And to bring somebody else in and be like, hey, this is what we wanna do, they're gonna have to learn it, so it's not gonna go well, and staff just doesn't know how to do it. We'd be like, what's Jason doing? Like,
Yeah.
so.
one idea I also heard was kind of cool is fly-in camping, like using our, we don't have no control over the airport here, I know, but that some local airports, like our small ones, have done fly-in camping where they bring their own tents and use the airport area. It's like,
That's super cool.
yeah,
They do
I
that.
like Terry's idea about camping on Thunder Island in particular, if for during the time that we actually, if we do a fireworks show of the bridge at night. You know, you could have VIP camping spots on Thunder Island on the west side for purchase, and then the spectating can be in the big large parking lot by the locks down there or over by Bridgeside. But you know, VIP camping to see that celebration overnight would be kind of cool. And
You shoot fireworks off from to have them be over the bridge.
we'd have to have a barge or something
I
probably.
think we,
And I think partnering with the stern wheeler, not for fireworks, but like. Things on the water, partnering with the stern wheeler is also good for them to have sanctioned events.
I know this year over at Community County Fairgrounds, they've changed the way they're doing their 4th of July. Instead of having the fireworks out on the main river, they're actually launching the fireworks inside the lagoon area, which, you know, ecologically, I think it's a bad idea because there's a lot of birds on those islands. But their idea with that was RV camping to watch all the fireworks in Stevenson from that campground area. So
we encourage you guys to reach out to your network to find people who maybe want to get involved with this and have their own sort of
I
events.
think we need to assign taskers to people, like some action items for people to take away before the next meeting and say, like, before the next meeting, try to get a hold of XYZ or whatever and see. That way everybody has kind of a clear understanding of what to do.
And then we really make sure we hit everybody locally, that we don't leave anybody out locally that wants to participate in this.
Right.
So we hit all of the locals, that's something that'll come back to the commission, whether we're like, we got left out of this, we don't want to do that to the commission, right? So make sure that we don't go to the flying people whom somehow we didn't talk to the Best Western, or we didn't talk to anybody else who may want to be involved in this, something like that. So we have to really make sure we reach out to local businesses.
have
Do
we, have we
contacts
even
for all of
talked about, have we even talked about as a port, how much we want to budget for this event and what the port will contribute? Jeremiah?
Well, so far we have $10,000 this year, and I imagine we were thinking about $10,000 a year till the event, so like 30 grand total so far, and then
But again,
fundraise.
like Jeremiah's saying, if you guys get to a point where you can hire an event coordinator that like Chad or that are experienced with sponsorship recruitment and how to manage sponsorships, you know, that's, you know,
Yeah,
again. it's just an-
I feel like the spending in here should be at least double what we spent on 4th of July, given this is a once in a century event. Bare minimum $50,000 in some sort of way where it's port and also sponsor tiers.
Yeah, I mean.
And it depends on who we can get to sponsor and how much they're willing to give us.
Yeah, I mean, sponsorship would be a big piece of it. I don't know that I'm ready yet to understand exactly how much this thing's gonna cost. But it will, I mean, we're gonna get there at some point, I'm sure that's gonna.
I think we're gonna have to sell, like, space for the vendors too, like, if you want to be part of this party, we need your sponsorship, it'll cost X amount. Something like that, I don't know.
Booth fees are very normal for that. I said booth fees are very normal for that type of event.
Yeah,
And I think something you could do is allocate the task of getting sponsors to the downtown association, perhaps, or tourism. So the port doesn't have to handle the logistics of that.
Gonna be some handling of the logistics of that, no matter what, I think we start charging fees for things. If we start charging fees, then we're talking about permits, and with permits, we're talking about events being a part of this. I think events at some point in time does become a part of this, but the less that we do sort of some of that sponsorship stuff and charging event fees and those types of things, the less staff involvement I have to have. So we'll have to weigh that, I mean, I don't think there's any way we get away from this thing costing us money. So I don't know how much $150 booth fee matters versus removing that barrier, removing the administrative task of doing it and just being like, this is part of the core contribution to this. It's something to keep in mind.
I think what you mentioned earlier, Jeremiah, about Jason Laconis's experience running PCT days, I think it'd be helpful if you would give us insight about how much does it cost to run an event like that with that size of amount of people and vendors there and all that. And that kind of gives us perspective of like how much is this going to cost, you know, for a similar type of event, but many different sanctioned events. But for the main event,
Jason is an awesome guy. I love Jason. We work well together. He will provide you that information. He's going to charge you for it.
Yeah.
He's going to charge you for that.
Said Chad, somebody,
Chad, same way. Awesome guy. We work really good together. He is going to charge you for that sort of information. That is somewhat key to how they both with Chad. Chad has a few events. Jason has one. He had PTT days and his understanding of how
what
to
is
make money.
Chad's events?
Runs. He does runs, but he does runs across the state. Chad only does, or Jason only does one event, and his
think-
sort of secret sauce is how to make money with that and that part. So he will charge us for that.
I have a
Right.
better experience working with Jason versus Chad personally, through the Course Canoe Club. So it's just, I think Jason would be a little bit more valuable in terms of input of how much an event would cost.
If you already have a rapport with them, Rob, maybe you can take that as an action to reach out, and talk to him about it and at least get an idea of what his fee would be to help run part of that event.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, I'll see what I can seek out.
He did some consulting work with, Gorge Tourism Alliance for the Festival of Nations. Right, they leaned on him pretty heavily to understand what security needs were, number of porta potties. I think that broke down at some point in time because he has a really well coordinated event and you can spend money pretty quickly on it. So, but he did do some consulting work for them. So it's something he's done before, but he was asked to do it for free and he didn't know.
All right, I'm taking the actions for taskers now, because we're at our hour. I mean, I know there's no sanctioned time limit on this, but I know it's everybody's Friday.
Yeah, by 11:30, I do. Okay.
So Rob is gonna talk to Jason. Brittany, do you wanna talk to everybody on the Skamania side, like the Skamania chamber?
Yeah.
Do you wanna go to any of the, I mean, if we talk to the Skamania chamber, do we need to talk to any of the local businesses over there?
She'll probably reach out and disperse from there, so.
Okay,
Yeah, Andy's probably gonna have a good handle on communications with them.
okay, perfect, do we wanna set tentative dates?
I
So
do
that we
have,
can, when we're communicating to people, we have tentative dates of what we're aiming for. I was thinking either the second or third weekend of September, probably the third weekend would be better, just because the second weekend, or the first weekend is, the first weekend is Labor Day, and then the second weekend is, the fly-in at Hood River, so if we hit the third weekend, we wouldn't be conflicting with all of these other things.
No, it'd probably actually work better for the school schedules, because like, everyone's gonna start right around Labor Day, so it kind of gives them some time to transition into coming back to school, and then they could do, you know, some
One-
sort of something with
Like the 19th and 20th, September 19th, 20th of 2026.
You get it on 20.
I think that's tentative, just 2 weekends out of September, and then as we go into a couple more months, we can hone down that date. But one question about the fly-in in particular, are we all in agreement to go with Wham Museum, or are we gonna consider other alternatives like Red Bull, Air Academy, or anything?
I think we should consider all alternatives. Wham might not wanna sponsor or be part of an event that's only 1 week or 1 weekend after they're flying, because that puts a lot on them. So car clubs,
What's the discussion so far? What's the outreach so far with Wham? Like, how interested are they, and has that even begun yet?
they just barely replied to an email with me recently saying that they'll talk to the board, to weigh their interest. I'd like to get in front of the board, with their next meeting and have like a presentation for them of what our ideas are. Try to get them excited about participating, but are there other like antique and auto type museums in the state that might be interested? And I thought there was like one.
There's a big, Troutdale Airport has a big recreational,
Or an aviation historical society, you could reach out to them.
Yeah, do you wanna reach out? Do you know how to find them?
I will find it out.
Aviation and Historical Society.
also Troutdale
Aviation.
Airport. Check out the clubs at Troutdale Airport as well. There's a big recreational collection of pilots out there. And we can even ask our own resident, Mike Murphy. He's a pilot himself, and has good networks with local pilots as well.
I think what would be probably the best fit for WAM would be to make the client a sponsored event so that they have a very small staff. And they'd probably be the most receptive to that being like an officially licensed event rather than trying to do something separate and different. I mean, you're welcome to approach them in any capacity, but
Right.
from what I know from working with them personally is, I would suggest they'll probably be the most receptive to going that route of it being like a licensed event or an official event, but
What does that mean? Like,
whatever Genevieve was suggesting as it being like, you know, an affiliated event, like the event that they're already planning, they're planning.
right, to like somehow extend it to be part of our event as well, or an
That would
affiliated
be like
event.
an affiliated event, yes, you heard the word.
Okay. So they would do their fly-in as normal, but advertise it as part of the Bridge of the Gods, possibly,
I think that's where you'll find the most success with that particular.
and then maybe they can have like just kind of a sidebar piece where we could offer well, I'm not sure who owns our airport, the state, right? So somehow figure out how we would allow like or permit camping at our spot too, so people could kind of go back and forth if they choose. And I think partnering with Ben from like the Gorge would be cool, like if we were to do camping there, he could set up a bicycle shop so people can like ride down to the event if they're got their planes and no other transportation.
For one of the, I mean, I know we're running over, I guess the last comment I'll make is one of these other sanctioned events is how do we invite Pacific Crest Trail Association into this? And I think they would be a good partner with local legislators about raising money for the trail and or infrastructure projects. So I think we should bundle them together in their own special event. You know, since it
Would
is.
you wanna take that action to talk to the PCP?
Yeah, I can add to the
trail?
list. I just want to kind of see what everyone's, I think in our next meeting, we can kind of come up with ideas, how to approach BCTA and how we would approach local legislators about them doing a joint effort.
I
And
think we just start approaching them. Why would we wait till the next meeting? I think we should make it as taskers now to start approaching people as soon as possible. And I rescind my comment from earlier about meeting every 2 months. There's a lot of things going on with this, and I think we should probably start just do monthly.
I would say be careful with legislators, only because of the relationship that the commission has with those legislators. And because I have 2 commissioners, right? So it's one thing if Janice says, hey, I'm on the committee for such and such, are you guys interested in this? It's another thing if it's a commissioner talking to a legislator and they're not sure if they're talking to a commissioner or they're talking to someone.
I would like to consult our government liaison, Dan Mara, first on these things before we trying to get into that conversation.
help us.
I believe that is something I think has to be.
Well, and so like, if we want the governor of Washington and governor of Oregon to come speak like they did at the original dedication. I think we would probably want his help to try to make that happen.
Yes.
So I think we should use our government liaison to talk to government officials.
Yeah.
That is likely something I will take back. And get you guys, and get the commission's approval to put Dan on this.
Okay,
I think that.
I think it would be, you know, I know that the governors are fairly busy, but if we give them 2 years' notice, well, and there might be an election cycle and a different governor at that point, so.
But yes, having all the communications go through the lobbyists was a great idea.
Yes. Janice, I don't have any assigned taskers for you yet, or myself. I'm working WHAM.
I will volunteer myself to work Travel Oregon.
Travel Oregon, okay. Do you know Paul Lundquist by chance? Do you have any connection there?
Not directly, but I can reach out. We work with one of his retailers that does the printing for him, so.
Alright, so I'm gonna assign you kind of the media to, if that, not the media, not the planning of the media, but just to see if we can get somebody assigned, like, or hire Paul and what it would cost, to maybe get a quote from him to design a flyer for us.
He's already got quite a few Bridge of the Gods assets built out. I can't imagine that it would just be like,
Yeah,
changing the words on it, right?
yeah, exactly, you know. Event, we have to figure out what we wanna put on it, you know, like how many words or
I
whatever.
wonder if he does murals. Would be very cool.
I don't know. I only know his digital work personally, but that doesn't mean he doesn't do other things.
I'll take on the aviation, you're doing aviation historical society, I'm gonna try to keep poking at Wham and Red Bull. And then who do we want to go to local businesses? I don't mind going to Best Western, Thunder Island, Gorges, Cascade, Ale House, like all of the different businesses to see what their interest is, in
Yeah, Exitapa, Wheeler as well, so.
Sternwheeler.
Is and merchandise as well. Do we want a Centennial memento merchandise, like selling a Bridge of the Gods themed lock or something, since we are Cascade Locks, kind of a play on words, and it has Bridge on the Gods on it, something that local vendors could sell. I don't know if the port wants to take that on, or if that's a side business of someone that wants to do that. But
Yeah,
some,
I don't think the board would want to take that on, but I think that somebody who has experience in making shirts and gear and type of things that may sell at that would jump at the opportunity.
I think that's one of the outreach points where we reach out to the local artists and creators and say, hey, we're doing this. If you want to start working on a project that would retail well, this would be advisable.
yeah, because I mean, the port does have to sign off on the license of using Bridge of the Gods trademark on that artwork, so it'd have to be kind of negotiated. I don't think someone could just make it, right?
No, we do not. Yeah, you don't
It's
have.
kind of the other way around, where we, you know, if you wanted to license artwork for logo design and things like that, the agreement that you have with the artist or the design firm is, you know, licensing their work for exclusive rights, you know, but in every medium that we want to print that.
We went down a long rabbit hole with copywriting work.
I don't remember where we ended up with that, but was it, we do
It
have
is-
Bridge of the Gods actually copyrighted, trademarked or whatever?
We could copyright the bridge if that is something that we're interested in doing, but we would also need to copyright it for specific, very specific items or things or reasons. So you would need to say, I'm copywriting the bridge because I'm going to manufacture this thing. It's a very expensive and lengthy process, and that's the reason no one's done it, and everybody can throw the bridge on whatever they want to. If you want to be the copyright holder, and it doesn't need to be it doesn't need to be the port, we would have a good say in being us, but if you want to be the copyright holder of the official Bridge of the Gods beer, you would have to be Bridge of the Gods beer and only the beer. If you want to be the t-shirt guy, you have to be the Bridge of the Gods t-shirt guy, you have to be the keychain guy, you have to very specifically say what you want to copyright the bridge for, and that is the only thing you're getting copyright on.
Alright, so I just wanna wrap this up for everybody and review all our taskers. Jeremiah, I'm tasking you with getting quotes for fireworks and bridge lighting. How much does it cost to light the bridge? Can we get a grant for that possibly? Cause that obviously is gonna be way out of our party planning budget.
So the fireworks display that we have now is $15,000. I don't think we need a 45-minute show. I think probably a very explosive 8-minute show probably does what we needed to do. Bang, 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 bang.
8,000 maybe.
I think that's probably.
You guys wanna do fireworks in the orange in September?
Well, not really. I would prefer to have just a big bridge lighting ceremony.
Sorry, I just put that out there.
The preference would be to light the bridge. I think it would be really cool to be able to do that. So if that gives us time to find grants and quotes and stuff for how much that would cost.
I looked into like the drone light shows a
They're
while
very
back, and they're
expensive.
very expensive. Yeah.
They're coming down in price. The big problem here is wind. We're actually really set up well for it. Like the little airport that we have, they need that.
Mhm.
Everything about us lines up really good except for the wind.
Yeah.
It's windy, it's-
The drone shows are at least 5 to 10 times more than what fireworks costs, unfortunately, and you know, you just don't really know what the wind conditions are gonna be like too.
Right. Alright, so tentative dates are either September 12th through 13th to coincide with the fly-in, if they wanna do like a sub-event to support us, like their own sanctioned, what was the word we used?
Affiliated.
Affiliated event. To support and just kind of coincide with us, they can keep their own fly-in and maybe use our airport still for like a fly-in camping thing or something. Where they still fly by during the day, which would be super cool. Then if that is not gonna work, then September 19th through 20th would be the alternative date. Taskers, Rob, you've got talking to Jason from PCT Days to see about how much it would cost to hire him as our event coordinator for like the PCT Days style event for hiring, getting vendors, bands, security, all of that jazz. And then to talk to the PCTA about their participation. Brittany, you've got the Skamania Chamber, Aviation Historical Society to talk to. Janice, you've got Chapel, Oregon, and Paul Lindquist for flyers. And media, I've got Wham, Red Bull, Local Biz. Jeremiah's got the bridge lighting. Just to get us a quote on that, because I know that was something in work anyway. And then Dan Marr to talk to legislatures and governors, and then with court approval. Any other go backs or taskers we need to add to that before the next meeting? I think we should set for a month from now.
What was, the interest in involving the tribes?
Oh, tribes, who wants to talk to tribes?
That will be the word.
So,
Or we'll talk to direct.
court as in Jeremiah.
It's whoever I delegated to, but yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces right now.
For that tie-in too, but.
And I certainly might involve you in that because it's historic, but I want to make sure that any involvement that we have with the tribes in the board.
Does anybody have any connections or associations to car clubs, like antique car clubs besides Wham?
You can talk to people at the Skunk Brothers Distillery. They have often antique shows on the weekends. They might be able to network with you. And there's also an antique car show that happens every year in North Bonneville.
Yeah, there's a car show.
And at the museum across the river, they have. I don't know, she canceled that last year, you might wanna reach out to her about how
Who did?
that's. Lou
Oh,
canceled the car show last year.
Okay.
So I don't know what her network is with that, but.
Yeah, that can wait till the next meeting, it's not like as pertinent as some of the getting a kickstart on the other things. I really wanna see what Wham's interest is in supporting this event first before I go, like, inviting all the car clubs. Just
Does
looking at,
Oregon Historical Society have any play into this? They would want to be interested in Janice?
Would probably be interested in, it depends on what the event is and, what we wanted from them for it. It'd be a good source for a speaker if you needed a speaker. They might be willing to.
Like University of Oregon has a lot of old archives. They might be able to help with, maybe some of the slides for a presentation or something.
They would certainly make their collections available for that and help with research if you needed it. If you wanted to have an affiliated event in Portland, there might be potential to do a speaker series with the Oregon Historical Society.
well, I think we have a really good start to our list of things to do and kind of collaboration. I think we have, a good vision of what this is, a weekend with a lot of affiliated events and sponsors where we assign out these tasks to other people to be part of our event where we don't have to do all the planning for them. And hopefully hire somebody such as Jason to help us coordinate and run the actual party piece of it. So when do we want our next meeting? We've got, I think Fridays seem to not be the greatest for everybody. If we did like the third Thursday in July, maybe the 25th. The evening of the 25th, would that possibly work for?
It's probably gonna be good, don't for me on that day.
Okay.
Yeah, I can commit to that.
Let's see, Brittany can't, so
What about the
I don't
Wednesday,
wanna,
the 24th?
Janice is off that day, I would hate to make her come in on a day off. In the evening, or not come in, but zoom in.
I'll do it if you guys will do it on a Saturday one time.
Monday the 22nd, still good?
Monday, oh, you're on Tuesday, Wednesday, so Monday you would work, what about Monday the 22nd?
City council meeting,
Oh,
depending on what time.
sorry.
and that's, I mean, if we did it.
But if we're doing Zoom,
We're doing
can't we
Zoom,
do
we're
it at
doing
the
it,
same
yeah.
time?
Oh, we're doing it soon when.
There's no city council members in our group yet, so. I mean, at some point, we wanna go to city council and be part of the public comment and let them know what we're doing, but, I think Monday the 22nd is probably fine. Does that work for you, Rob?
Yeah, like, were you thinking 5 p.m.?
Maybe 5:30 or 6, give people time to like. I don't know, or 5 is fine, I don't know, whatever works for everybody with their work schedule to be able to dial in.
I can be there at 5:15.
5:15.
Okay.
We're doing this Zoom, right?
Yeah, Zoom only. Monday the 22nd at, let's just say 5:30 to give people time to like. Have. Dinner or a snack between this and work.
I would say, something that goes on everybody's task is to try to find as many of the people who want to be involved as possible. They don't need to sit on a subcommittee, right? They don't need to have a say in everything that you guys do. I know you have enough heads to make all the decisions. The recommendations, I should say, to the commission, but as many hands as we can get involved in this.
Okay. I think that's good as well. 5:30 p.m. for the next meeting, Zoom only. All right, are we gonna go back to St. John's before we adjourn?
I just want to say thank you to everybody volunteering on this. There's a lot of great ideas here, and I think pretty soon we'll have a very good vision about what lies ahead here. So I appreciate everybody's involvement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody on the subcommittee needs anything to report, comes to me on that. This is gonna be the last agenda meeting that you will attend for this. Carrie Ann, you'll have some interaction with Carrie Ann, because minutes need to get posted, and, or get typed out. You can send those to her. They'll need to go to the next agenda. When you create agendas, they can go to her, they can get posted up.
Okay,
But anything else, come directly to me on it.
sounds good.
Cool.
All right, everybody, meeting adjourned.
Great job.
Thank you so much. It's exciting.